Senators from across the country have now joined their Nova Scotian colleagues in the call for a public inquiry into April's mass shooting, which left 22 people dead in rural Nova Scotia. Senator Mary Coyle is joining us from Antigonish this morning. Thanks for being on Your Morning.
Pleasure to be here, Anne-Marie.
You and 36 fellow senators, in fact, sent a letter to federal ministers Bill Blair, David Lametti, and Miriam Monsef, as well as Nova Scotia ministers Mark Fury and Kelly Regan, calling for a fully open, transparent, and comprehensive inquiry into the shooting in April. In June, you sent 2 letters to Blair and to Fury alone, calling for the same thing. Why do you feel an inquiry is the right step?
Well, the 22 lives were lost. It was the worst mass murder in Canadian history that happened right here in rural Nova Scotia, an absolute tragedy and a travesty. We feel that not only do the victims' families need answers as to why this happened, but also all Nova Scotians and all Canadians. And you'll have noticed from our recent letter that we have senators from every province in Canada and every territory who have signed on and said this is an issue of, yes, Nova Scotian importance, but of national importance. Why did this happen? Why did this man who had been a perpetrator, we know, of violent acts of domestic violence in advance of these mass shootings, why were those issues not dealt with? Why did he have the weapons he had? Why was the emergency alert issue not issued publicly? What was the coordination between the various public safety officials and police forces? There's so many questions there. And how could this have been prevented? And how could we prevent this type of horrible tragedy from ever happening again in our country?
Senator Coyle, I just want to read a portion of that letter for our viewers to give them some context. Part of it reads, Nova Scotians and Canadians need to know what happened or did not happen and what might be done to identify and act on the warning signs that might help to prevent tragedies in the future. What information are you concerned is being withheld from the public?
Well, we know very little, actually. We know, of course, the murderer is dead, so we know that. Where did he get the weapons that he used? He'd been storing these weapons for a long time in his house. Police had been informed of that, different police forces. Why was there not action taken? We know that he had assaulted his spouse on several occasions, including leading up to these mass shootings. That was the first act of violence that he perpetrated that night 3 months ago. So people had warned the police about that. She, as with many domestic violence victims, are not themselves necessarily feeling safe to go to the authorities, but others went on her behalf previously. So we feel very, very strongly that we need to have a full, comprehensive, in the public view, federal and provincially led inquiry so that all of the answers can be there for the public to see. There's a lot of, gossip and innuendo going around now. Was the murderer on the payroll? Was he a paid informant of the RCMP? We don't want that kind of, rumor out there. There's all kinds of rumors as to why the emergency alert was not sounded at that time. Why was Twitter used? All sorts of things. So we need this to be open. There's talk of a restorative justice approach being used,
right.
And there's a lot of concern around that because often the full open and transparency that is required will not be honored. So there's a real need here to get on with it.
Yeah, and to make sure that it is transparent as well. Senator Coyle, I want to thank you for coming on this morning.
Oh, my pleasure. And let's hope we get some action soon.
Thanks so much. Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.